I don't know if you can see me over this podium. Thank you. And we want to thank the staff of this wonderful university for inviting us, and all of you for coming. It is a great honor to address students like you who, I have to say with all sincerity, you are not only the future of India, you are the future of the world, because the caliber of students and the caliber of people that are coming out of the universities in India are going to be very formative in the years ahead. And just as a little aside, I am so happy to see so many young women students here, because the world is deeply in need of the feminine consciousness now, not in a way of traditional values, but in the sense of leading, showing how we can train our minds, we can accomplish things, we can get degrees, we can serve in professional capacities, but also not to lose the heart, because without that, it becomes very empty. I know some of you are working here to get your MBA, and I was thinking, let's think of MBA meaning a master of better attitudes. And that's what you all should be striving to do. One can learn business skills, one can learn engineering and management, but if you don't do it as a balanced human being, you will not make a contribution to society. Engineers, there are many, but people who can care about the upliftment of culture, of nations as a whole, this is not a common thing. And so it is, I mean this sincerely, it is a great honor for us to get to address the future in all of you, because we really want you to understand we have come from the affluent West. We have seen the lives of people who have accomplished the highest levels of success on a material level. But the ones that are happy are the ones that are contributing to the upliftment of society, as well as the profession that they have chosen. And so as you look at your futures, don't always think, how will I fit into this niche? How will I become a good engineer? Try to have a broader perspective in which you are asking yourself, how can I use my education, my training, my skills that I have worked very hard to acquire? How can I use this in ways that will change and improve the world? This is the challenge before your generation. Our generation, I am sorry to say, has not given you a very good heritage. Ecologically, financially, socially, politically, the world is, and as far as values and moral living, the world is very confused right now. And I think all of you who are coming up now, your responsibility and your challenge will be to take what you have learned and to do things in new ways. Just as Jyotishji was saying, we spent most of our life in creating model communities, cooperative communities. I wish we could take you on a trip. Maybe we will show you the movie at some point, Finding Happiness, which is a feature-length film made about our communities throughout the world. But there are places with people with great accomplishments, high education, but coming together not for personal gain, but for the upliftment of society and to seek a spiritual values in their lives. And so I want to present some ideas that I hope will be helpful to you as guidelines for your own choices in the future. Your generation will have many more choices than your parents did. And you have the freedom, in a sense, to make good decisions or bad decisions. But that's why I feel so fortunate to be able to share with you. Because if you have an understanding of what are the importance of values, of moral values, of service to humanity, of cooperation with others, you can make choices that will further your own happiness, the happiness of your friends and family, and uplift the consciousness. Our spiritual teacher, who we trained with for many decades, Swami Kriyananda, he passed away, as was said, in 2013. But Jyotish and I spent over 40 years as his students, as his assistants, as his deep friends in God. He had a wonderful statement, one of many, but he said, happiness is not the reward, it is the solution. And what did he mean by that? If you, as Jyotish was saying, if you expect the world to make you happy, if this job or that marriage or this, whatever it might be, if you wait for the world to make you happy, you may wait a very long time. But if you say, I choose to be happy, that is the solution. To be happy under all circumstances. And I know what I'm speaking of, because our life has not been one of ease and without challenge. This is a small story from our own lives, but in 1976, we had the community in California where we have spent most of our adult life. Now we live everywhere. We have a home in Gorgon, we have a home in Assisi, small apartments in part of our ashram. But in 1976, this beautiful community, which had many homes that had been lovingly created by our own members, was struck by a forest fire, and it burnt to the ground. And everything we had been working for 7 years went up in ashes. I know you here in Chennai were also hard hit by the floods which happened a few months ago. You know, I'm sure either you or people you know knew what it was like to lose things. But when we lost, Jyotish and I lost every possession we had, and we had a new child, 11 days old. It was not an easy experience. But when I saw Jyotish the day of the fire, the day it had hit, he was up trying to mount a campaign to save the house. I was elsewhere trying to do other things with this new baby. And Jyotish looked at me. We finally found each other in the midst of this chaos. And the house that we lived in, unfortunately, had a lot of leaks in it. And when it rained, there was a lot of buckets all over the place. But Jyotish looked at me, and here we were, two young people in our late 20s, early 30s, having dedicated 7 years to building a community. Now with a new family we're starting, and we looked at each other, and because of this idea that happiness is a choice, it is not a solution, Jyotish said to me, the first thing, and it will be one of the treasured memories of my lifetime, he said, do you know what, Devi ji? We don't have to worry about leaks anymore. They're all gone. The house is gone. And we both laughed. And that was such a wonderful moment, because I realized in the midst of losing everything, you don't have to lose your joy. And so in your lives, I know you face tremendous pressure and competition, but if you can find a way to choose higher principles, to choose to find a way that rises above the pressure. Another important concept I want to share with you from my teacher, he said you should live in life so that you are a cause, not an effect. that you are making a difference in the world. You are not just like a little ping pong ball, back and forth, this test, this exam, this job interview, but you are saying, I am choosing to direct my life in a way that I want to live it, not how other people are telling me I have to live it, not or that sort of thing. The people that were able to accomplish great things in the world of business today, I think a remarkable example is Steve Jobs, who founded the Apple Corporation. I don't know if you all know this, but do you know the one book that he had on his electronic reader, his iPad? Do you know the one book? Autobiography of a Yogi. And he read it every year. That was the one book he read. And at his funeral, he died early of cancer, liver cancer. At his funeral, he directed to be given out to the 500 invited guests a copy of Autobiography of a Yogi. He said, this will change your life. And interestingly, one of his representatives called our ashram some months before Steve passed away and wanted to order the Autobiography of a Yogi from us to be given out to all the people. But people who have made an incredible contribution to the world have known how to think beyond traditional ways of thinking, have known how to be a cause in the world, not an effect. And you all will need to do that. You will need to juggle family, career, job, demands, little time, the desire to have some quality of life. But you need to work at this just as hard as you're working at your studies, because it won't happen in and of itself. You have to choose it, and you have to, when you are with your family, some of you will probably marry in time, to say, am I going to just put my family life, my children on hold and go on about my career? Where's the fulfillment in that? Where's the meaning in that? I know, unfortunately, in India, the divorce rate is rising. And you're unfortunately copying all the bad habits of America. But it doesn't have to be this way. Just like a plant, if you don't give it water, what happens? It will die. If you have a marriage and family and you say, oh, it's just my wife, it's just my husband, we're married, and that's my child, and my mother will take care of him, you will not find the fulfillment in marriage, family, or personal satisfaction that is possible in this family life. The same with your work environment. If you are only thinking competitively, if you are only thinking of how can I get ahead of that person, he got this grade on the test, I have to get a better grade, it's not a happy way to live. One of the qualities in our communities is a principle of cooperation. Jyotish and I are the spiritual directors, one might say the CEOs of the Worldwide Ashram. We have chosen to get a lower salary than some of the other people. And when I say lower salary, it's virtually nothing. We're sannyas. But we see people who have more needs, and we say, give them that money. We don't need it. And so this spirit of cooperation, if we see a department in our work, and we have many different departments, let's say one department is struggling, we say, let's take the talented people from this area and put them over there and help bring up that department. We don't need to do that, but we know that the whole has to be, the total picture has to be balanced and well and whole. And so when you go on into a professional life, remember, if it resonates with you, if you look out for the welfare and the advancement of others, that's the surest key to success. The man who helps others has many, many friends that will come around in his time of need. The man or woman who only thinks for themselves stands alone without any support from the universe. So factor that into your career trajectory. Wherever I am, if someone is struggling with some technological aspect in your workplace and you understand it, you might think, okay, I'll get ahead of that person. Don't think that way. Think how you can help that person's advancement, and the universe will respond. The universe is not unaware. We live in a conscious universe. Every aspect of it is conscious, and modern physics is proving this, that even the movement of molecules and atoms and photons are influenced by the consciousness of the observer. And so we live in a connected universe. And the more all of you, as the coming generation of India, the more you say, how can I uplift all of India? Not how can I get a new Porsche. You can get that new Porsche if you want, but it's an empty life. If you uplift all of India, your life will be rich beyond anything you can imagine. And if you can build bridges between East and West, because we love to come to India. We love it here because there is a quality in the Indian consciousness that is very intuitive, that naturally, there's keen intellect, perhaps the keenest in the world, but that is not what is the greatness of India. The greatness of India is the perception on a soul level of truth and reality. So don't throw away the great culture from which you have come. You may not want to follow it traditionally, but take the best of what you have grown up with. And that's a unified vision of the world, an ability to see behind the superficial reality and to see a truth that unites all people, all creation, everything in that reality. So in your striving and in the demands that you find on your life, try to remember to always have that part of your mind that is a little bit detached, a little bit observing, and say, I will not be just bowled over by all the pressures in my life. I will find a way to have quality of life, to support other people, to give good energy to my home and family, to still succeed. And it's the person who can live that way. At the end of the life, you can say, that was a life well lived. I heard a quote once that it said, at the end of life, no one ever says, I wish I would have spent more time in the office. It's not where we find our happiness. Certainly we have to do that. But really the secret of balanced living is setting priorities and putting everything in perspective. Don't be one-sided. Our Guruji Yogananda talked about 3 levels of consciousness. The subconscious mind, which is that part of our awareness which is the repository of past experiences and memories. The conscious mind, which we use most frequently, and that's the rational, problem-solving, intellectual mind. And that's what we're mainly trained in. But there's another level, and that's what our Guruji called the superconscious mind. And that is the mind that is unitive, it's intuitive, it finds connections between things that the rational mind cannot find. The great physicist who really created the world of modern physics, Albert Einstein, the theory of relativity, which changed science in this cycle of time, he said it came to him in an intuitive flash from the superconscious mind. And we recently read a beautiful quote from Einstein where he said, no great scientist can exist that doesn't have a sense of a higher power, a higher intelligence, I'll insert the word a superconscious awareness, from which his ideas come. And I would just offer to you, as Jyotish was saying, the practice of meditation helps you to awaken the superconscious mind. And with that, you release a wellspring of energy, of creativity, of insight, of personal power, truly, that nothing else in the world can give you. We were walking recently in Gorgon, and there was a woman in our neighborhood who we see often. She's an older woman and quite bent over with a cane and walking, and we went up and were speaking with her. And we said, "How are you today?" And she said, "Oh, I'm not so well." But she said, "You know, I'm not so young anymore. I'm 71 years old." And we walked away and we looked at each other because we were both many years older than that. But it's the power of living with a sense of your own higher consciousness that makes your life magnetic, fulfilling, and enables you to make a true contribution to society. So, as my Guruji said, Yoganandaji said, India will never be satisfied with petty concerns. Perhaps for a time, people get hypnotized with the glamour of materialism, but the soul of India is always looking for the underlying truth behind and the meaning of life. The meaning of life, simply put, is to find the joy of your own being and to share it with others. Use the education you are getting now to pursue those goals, and you will find at the end of your life, you can look back and say, I found everything I was looking for. And this happiness will be yours, and it will be yours for all those you are able to influence. So thank you for coming this morning. It has been our joy to be with you.